Welcome to the podcast for Mr. Brightside Part 2. I think tonight was one of the best episodes so far of Season 11. We had 3 great ongoing storylines that, dealt with everything in a very good fashion. There was, great intense moments, there was some comedic moments. Everything came together in this episode as one of the best half-hour episodes of the season and maybe even of the series. We start out with Drew, the continuation of the fighting. The fight scenes tonight I thought looked extremely real. It felt like you were watching, an actual fight. They were very realistic. They weren't really dumbed down for TV. They were pretty intense. It went along with Drew and his passion and how, intense his life is. They're showing it in a way of, what exactly Drew was going through. And when Julian said to him, "You're gonna get yourself killed," for some reason that line just, clicked with me. And throughout the whole season, ever since even before the season premiere, everyone has been speculating, someone will die. And the big name that keeps getting thrown around, Drew. Will Drew die? Honestly, I'm gonna say no, but at the same time, if he did die, I wouldn't really be surprised. I kind of do hope he dies. Not that I don't like his character. I love everything about his character. It's been many years since a main character has died on the show. Season 6 with JT was the last big death. A lot of people who have just started watching in the past couple years, may not even know who JT is. We need to have a death for, the new generation of people who are watching who haven't experienced one yet. And because in general, everyone knows someone who sadly, dies every year from whatever it may be. And I think it is time for a death to be portrayed on the show. So we'll see. That's why I want Drew to die. Not because I hate his character or anything. I just think it's time. They've been setting it up for episode after episode. It would just make perfect sense, for him to die. Luke's acting this season has been phenomenal. The scene with him and Katie as he's revealing what happened after spring break was just so well done. Fantastic scene from him. Everything about this storyline has been interesting from beginning, to where we are at now. Another thing I forgot to touch on in some of the past podcasts, and I've noticed a lot of people talking about this, is Katie's voice. People either seem to really like it or hate it. And honestly, I'm going back and forth between whether I like it or not. It is a unique voice for sure. I don't know. I just see a lot of people discussing, either Katie's voice is awesome, Katie's voice is annoying. For some reason tonight, I really liked it. For one thing, it shows great contrast to, Drew, someone who's, so intense and, ready to kill someone, and Katie who's so, calm and relaxing. And that was a nice contrast to see when the two of them were interacting tonight. And then we have the Holly J storyline. Selling the prom dress to get the money was definitely very unique, and I think this storyline has been handled very well. I think it's one of the best well-executed storylines, in the series history, going all the way back to when Holly J first found out she was sick, and the progression through all the way, to needing a kidney and just everything that she's been through. I think Holly J is one of the best characters in the history of the show as well. Going from the bitch of the school to this nice, likable person who is now basically struggling for her life. I think the transformation and everything her character has been through has just, been incredible. She is definitely going to be missed on the show when she leaves in a few episodes here. And finally, wrapping up the episode, Allie and Dave. It's nice to see Allie's parents give in to her dating. Once again, I'm really enjoying Allie this season. Even Dave, who was one of my least favorite characters for a while, I think he's really shining this season. The two of them together have incredible chemistry. It makes their scenes extremely likable, and I love seeing them. And another thing, the introduction of storylines, quietly creeping in little subplots before they take over for the big plots, has been fantastic this season. For those who don't like spoilers, I won't get into too much, but tonight with Allie, Dave, and her father playing cards, we know it's going to lead to, a big storyline for Allie, her first big one of the season. And, once again, I didn't even expect the way they, implemented it into the episode was just fantastic. So I'm really excited to see, where Allie goes. She's been great as a background character, and now she's going to get her chance in season 11 to, get in the front seat and lead some episodes. Real quickly, it is hard to balance the show, and I've talked about this before in the podcast. But right now we're missing a lot of characters on the show. Riley and Zane, huge, missing them. They haven't been on in such a long time. And even Anya, we haven't really had a lot going on with her. Towards the beginning of the season, they were doing, little 1 minute, little scene updates for various things. Casey and Jenna, we got a little update, on them and in some of the episodes. It'd be nice just to see a little brief update on what's going on with Anya, what's going on with Zane and Riley. And also another thing is Connor, when he was sent off to go to his meetings, that he had to leave Degrassi for a while. I'm pretty sure they're going to be showing him in a smaller plot next week, I believe. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I really hope it is, because I think that would be a missed opportunity as well if they're not going to at least show, him for a couple minutes dealing with trying to get back on track and understanding what he did was wrong, and learning tips and learning how to do the right thing so he can come back to Degrassi. So I hope we do see him again before the second half of the season starts in October. Thanks for listening to the podcast tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all tomorrow.